Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your hosts, occasionally howling at the moon.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Another anime season is coming to a close, and so is another anime review season here on our little show. But before we take a look at all the new hot stuff from summer and start reviewing all the shows we watched from spring, we have a bit of remaining winter business to take care of. So today John and I will discuss the highly anticipated second season of BEASTARS and also decide on our personal choices for best anime of the season. First, I'm gonna do a mini review of a show that definitely didn't live up to expectations and thus has become a part of the quick and the dead. So be you herbivore or carnivore, feast your ears on the approaching anime audio extravaganza and for sure don't pause the pod, we'll be right back. So yeah, here we are in the Quick and the Dead, our section for shows that we didn't feel merited a full-on, full-length review or that we stopped watching or whatever, but we wanted to talk about regardless, at least for a while. And I gotta say, this time it's a rather unexpected entry because it's The Promised Neverland Season 2 for me.
Oh boy.
Yeah, if y'alls remember the sneak peek where I talked about Promised Neverland Season 2, I was still very happy, optimistic, looking forward to the whole thing. And it was like, yeah, holy shit, first season was one of my favorite new anime things. I think I gave it Best of the Season award. If I didn't, it was definitely in the running. But I was so looking forward to the second season because the first season of Promised Neverland was fantastic. It was a very nice mix-up of the shonen formula and focused mainly on mind games and twists and making plans and surprises. And yeah, it was really cool. Had great characters, some cool mysteries and plot developments and all that shit. Some really cool horror atmosphere. It was really, really nice. The second season, well, it starts all right. It picks up immediately where we left off. All the kids escaped from the orphanage they were kept at, as they found out, by demons. Humans in this world, as our main characters found out, serve as food because demons eat humans. As we learn in this season, they actually have to consume human meat, apparently, because if they don't, their bodies deform and they degenerate, basically. And become giant monsters, which one of those we run into at the beginning of the season. Oh yeah, full spoilers for Promised Neverland Season 2. I don't give a shit. Yeah, but in the beginning of the season, the kids are in the woods. They've just escaped the orphanage, and they run into a giant monster and get saved by two demons, weirdly enough, who don't agree with what the other members of their race do with the humans, and they want to find a different way. One of the giant monsters that the characters run into, we later learn, is actually a degenerated demon. To keep that from happening, demons have to consume humans. All of that is super interesting. We learn that bit by bit, and the two characters we meet are interesting, Mujika and Sanju, the two demons who don't eat humans because of religious reasons. The beginning of this second season was really cool. There was a lot of new shit we saw. The world opened up. There were some implications with the two new demon characters. It's like, oh, not all demons are bad, apparently. And maybe there's some more to why the other demons actually eat humans and stuff like that. And that kind of gets paid off in certain ways. The problem is, after a while, you get the feeling that something is missing from this season. Something is weird. It kind of happens a bit slowly in the beginning. Some characters go places and it all makes sense, but then you get the feeling it feels like something else should have been here, and that is weird that is not there. And then suddenly a huge time jump happens, huge time skip, and our characters have spent a year, apparently, somewhere in a city, in a demon city, in disguise, and we're like, what the fuck? Why didn't we see them doing that? And then suddenly another character appears. One of our main characters returns, Norman, who we thought was dead in the first season, who basically sacrificed himself so the others could live. And he returns, and he has a bunch of new allies, and they are fucking killers now and kill demons left and right. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? And then there's a clash between our main characters, Ray and Emma, and with Norman and his ideologies, and a bunch of... he kills an entire village of demons, basically. And it gets fucking crazy. And all of that makes no sense if it weren't for episode-long exposition dumps that also get sprinkled in there, which is filling us in story that we should have watched in the most inelegant way possible. And yeah, basically all of the season is plot after plot after plot after plot, wild developments that make no sense whatsoever, are super rushed. And while the first season was this very well-paced, incredibly well-done cat and mouse game between the kids and the demons, and the atmosphere was intense and super well-built, all the important parts were staged incredibly well, nothing, almost nothing of that is left in the second season. It's just a bunch of shit happening one after another, then a bunch of exposition dumps in between to fill you in on the shit you missed. And then we end on a super weird and incredibly unsatisfying ending that also makes no fucking sense. It is an ending. It is an ending to the kids' stories. It's not open-ended. But you feel like, okay, holy shit, we missed out on a bunch of shit. And we did, because apparently the anime skipped like 4 story arcs of the manga after the first couple of episodes of the second season. Like,
why?
I have no fucking idea. I won't go into much more detail of all the details, what doesn't work in this fucking second season, because there's a lot that doesn't work. There's so much stuff that you sit in front of it and you scratch your head and you're asking yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this way? Just don't do it at all if you can't do it properly. This is ridiculous. None of this makes any sense the way it is. The most ridiculous thing being, which even considering how the show ended, in itself doesn't even make sense. After the end of the show, or in the final ending montage, when the kids are already back in the real world, which happens at the end, by the way, they show a montage of things from the manga? Yes, that happened in the manga, but that never happened in the anime because the story took a completely different route. So there are a bunch of characters in there we've never met, but it feels like the creators were like, hey, maybe you want to see some color versions of certain pages from the manga that don't make any sense without the context, with you having read the manga, because you see a bunch of characters you've never met in the anime, and they don't make sense after seeing this ending. It's just like, why are you showing me this? Why? What is this? I don't know who any of these people are.
That is utter nonsense.
It's complete nonsense. It's so misguided and so stupid, and it doesn't make a lick of sense, and it's dumb, and there's so many bad decisions in the second season of Promised Neverland. They're ridiculous. And there are a bunch of people who've done videos about why this is so bad and examining it in excruciating detail. So what I'm going to do, instead of talking about this garbage season for any longer, is I'm going to link 3 videos in regards to this. 2 by Mother's Basement and 1 by Low Art. Both of them did an amazing job comparing anime and manga and what worked and what didn't work and what got adapted and why the adaptation is so fucking bad with the second season of the show. And I'm going to link it in the episode description. If you listen to us on YouTube, you can find the episode description there, of course, but also the links are in all of our posts, so they should be on Spotify as well, and on Google Podcasts and iTunes and whatever. You can find the links there. Otherwise, go to their channels, to Mother's Basement or to Low Art on YouTube, and search for Promised Neverland there, and watch the videos they did on that topic. Because, like I said, they do a much better job than I ever could at explaining to you in excruciating detail what the fuck went wrong, and a lot went wrong with this show, which is an absolute shame, because like I said, I loved the first season. I thought it was a fantastic anime, and then sadly it turned into this garbage fest, and it's a fucking dumpster fire. It's horrible. I don't think I've ever seen an anime fall from grace so violently and so fucking fast. It's ridiculous. It's a perfect example of how to not do an adaptation. If you need something like that for something where you want, like, hey, this is how you don't do it, Promised Neverland Season 2. There you go. If you need that for some reason, I don't know, for paper or something, or to entertain someone, there you go. You have a perfect example for that. I wrote way too much stuff down for this season of Promised Neverland, which none of this I will go into. It's not worth it. I wasted enough time on this show, and it's a bummer. And I hope this never happens again to a show I loved, because it was very depressing and very sad and it made me very angry at points. So, yeah, let's not linger on this. Let's actually talk about the good show, because Beastar definitely was one in its first season and apparently still remains so in its second season.
So we're back at it again, it would seem. Second season of BEASTARS is here, technically speaking. Don't worry about that part.
Do worry about it. We actually are reviewing a season of anime before it technically has aired in the West, so...
Yeah, I don't think we need to linger too long on my opinion of Netflix, but
yes.
It's been made public.
Yeah, just, telling the people if they want to watch this show, they still need to wait a bit. I don't know, when is the second season supposed to air on Netflix in the West?
It's going to arrive on Netflix in the West July 15th.
All right, that's...
For a show that started back in January?
Yeah. Okay, I hope it gets a high quality dub to justify that long of a waiting time, because otherwise there's none.
I mean, the dub, I didn't really watch a lot of the dub from the first season, but I did watch a few clips, and it was good, so they put in the work.
I get the feeling, though, I mean, I think we reviewed first season also before it came out on Netflix, but I think it didn't take that long, but I might be mistaken.
No, I'm pretty sure it didn't. I think it came out as it ended in
which
Japan.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we're wrong, because season 1 was October 2019, and then it hit international in March 2020. So I guess it's about the same length of time.
I guess we don't have to pay attention to that if we have already seen it. But yeah, at least it's coming.
If you know where to look.
Yes. At least it's coming in about 2 weeks, I guess, and you can finally watch it. So we're going to tell you now why you should. The problem is, we, of course, again, because it is a continued series review, we're going to go into full spoilers. So be aware of that. So if you still want to go into the season untainted, and you should, because there are a bunch of surprises and thrilling things happening, you maybe should stop listening to this episode now and come back to us once you have actually watched that show. And I assume Netflix is just going to throw out the entire season so you can binge it. And yeah, then come back and listen to the rest of the episode, because we're going to spoil the fuck out of the season and the one before it, which we, of course, didn't do when we reviewed season 1. But yeah, let's get into it, John. What is happening at the beginning of the second season? What happened at the end of the last season? I mean, we didn't really talk about that, I guess, in detail, because we couldn't.
The end of the first season was, oh boy. Mm-hmm. So when Louis basically runs away from Cherryton Academy, who he was the prime candidate to become the next BEASTAR.
Yes.
There's your title drop. He was like, nah, I don't want to do this. And he goes to the black market and ends up finding himself caught up in a little bit of trubs, mostly thanks to Lego C being a little rash, a little quick to action. Haru is basically kidnapped by the Leo group, the Shishigumi. There's a nice little pun in there for you.
Well, basically Yakuza in this world.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. And Lego Shi ends up having to get in there to rescue Haru, and he has a knockdown, drag-out fight with a whole bunch of literal lions.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, he's not alone. I think Goin is helping him out, the panda guy, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But he can only do so much because he's an herbivore, and, they are weaker than carnivores, at least in this universe.
Yeah, see, which is weird to think about considering he's, a panda bear and pandas are big tough boys.
Yeah, but they're also kind of soft and dumb, at least in our world. But you know,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, you're right. He's a bear. He should be powerful enough. But that's how this world works. But yeah, he does the thing. But yeah, Legacy does the main stuff where he just fucking fights his way through and fights the main guy of the Leo group, I guess, which is a really cool looking fight. When Orange goes all out with its action scenes, which we again see in this second season, it's really cool. They really know to do what to do with their camera.
Yeah, Legacy goes in there to Legacy. Yeah, let me try and keep it consistent.
I mean, neither can the dub and I think and the some of the subs and whatever, but it has been stated before that his name is an homage to Bela Lugosi.
Lugosi, yep.
So if that is based on a real name,
that's true. So hopefully I don't end up slipping into saying Lugosi instead of Legosi.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, Legosi goes in there and rips shit up, and Louis kind of follows in afterward, and he basically takes over the place. He pulls a gun.
Shoots the main guy in the fucking head.
Yeah, he pulls a gun on the leader of the Leo group, and he just straight murks him.
Yeah, and you would expect the other lions, the other Leo group members being like, okay, we're just gonna eat that fucker. He killed our boss. But weirdly enough, that doesn't happen. Which is one of the big parts of this season, is Louis' story and how he basically becomes the leader of the Leo group and why he becomes the leader and why more and more he is integrated into and becoming more and more home there, at least in a way, and how he gains the respect from the other members, especially Ibuki, who is kind of the second in command, always was, and who kind of really gains a fondness for Louis, and they become kind of have this. Is it a semi father-son relationship? I would say so, kind of.
I mean, Ibuki, maybe it's jumping ahead a little bit, but Ibuki is more of a father to Louis than Louis' own father ever was.
Definitely, yeah, that's true. I mean, we can directly go into characters and what they do in the season. This is a continued series review, so we can play loose with the format. Let's stay with Louis then. Okay, before we get to Legosi and the other characters. He plans to fight his battle outside of school. He resigns from the drama club. He plans to be the leader of the Leo group full time because of, I don't know if we've seen that in the second season or in the first season already, but he had a very difficult upbringing. He was basically this, let's say, purchasable lump of meat in the dark market. He was basically only, bread. I don't know how he ended up there, but I think so. To be consumed by rich carnivores or something like that. And he was then saved, I think, by his adopted father, who then wanted to make him into the ultimate candidate for the BEASTAR, for the herbivores to gain more power. And his adopted father is like the head of Territon Academy. He's like this very old, very distinguished deer with a giant fucking antler on his head. And he is... But you get the feeling that he has no real affection for Louis and had made Louis feel that his entire life. That Louis was always just a tool for him. And Louis kind of wants to emancipate himself from his father and be like, no, I do my own shit. I came from a dark place. I belong in a dark place. And yeah, that's basically what happens, or that what he thinks he must do in this season. And most of his season is him having contact with Legacy, but also his talks with Ibuki and everything, making him realize that that is not necessarily his place at all. And yeah, that is super interesting. I don't know, John, what did you think about Louis' development in the second season?
It's so weird because he starts off as so aloof. And I mean, he sort of remains aloof throughout, really. But does this wild heel turn when he becomes the leader of the Leo group. But you know that's not what he wants out of life.
Yeah, he's trying to adapt to, let's say, his past trauma and everything by living after this new creed.
Yeah.
For him, there are now not herbivores and carnivores, they're just winners and losers. And he doesn't intend to ever lose again because he's lost a lot in his life and he doesn't want to be on that side anymore. That's basically it. And he gets the feeling that by shooting the boss, which is a thing I was wondering about anyway. What does the discrepancy of strength between herbivores and carnivores matter if there are guns in this world?
Right?
Isn't that evening the playing field a little bit? And apparently it does, because, Louis can just do it. After that, he's kind of fucked if he doesn't have a gun anymore, but he always has a gun on him while he is the leader. So he is he has a chance. It results in actual physical battle. Then is a problem. But aside from that, and also he tries to eat meat, and that doesn't really work out for him. But even though he can keep his composure for long enough to be the head of the group, but then he pukes that shit into a fucking garbage bin. But he wants to be part of this group because he gets the feeling that he can be someone real strong on the outside anyway.
Right.
At least that's my assumption. And he can be a winner in a different scenario, more so than being a manipulated political figure, which he would have been if he was a Beastar. So at least that's where he is. But yeah, it literally became an eat or be eaten world for Louis after he killed the head of the Leo group. Like, the other members didn't know what to do and decided, since he's already an admired public figure due to the Beastar program, they would make him their new figurehead to polish up their reputation in society and standing among the other Yakuza clans. And Louis feels like he can make his own way in that world better than he would as a Beastar. So yeah, it's interesting. And, then very quickly you get the feeling that Ibuki, his second in command, kind of knows what Louis is doing and what he's trying to do and has sympathy for that. And he actually brings him salad and is surprised when he finds out how much Louis hates being a weak herbivore. And you very quickly get the feeling that for him, Louis is not just a figurehead. For him, he's a real person and he can understand where he's coming from, and he has some sympathy for that, and he can relate to that and everything, and he wants to help him out. At least I got the feeling that is the case, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay. So, Louis says that he realized he was living a lie at school, trying to become a Beastar because society works on strength and instincts after all. And most of that is what drives him to be now the leader of the Leo group. But like I said, he has some encounters with some of the other characters after he has maneuvered himself in that position that make him rethink that. First, of course, is Legacy, which, we'll get to their relationship later, and also in relation to the plot because it's important. But also his talks with Ibuki, and also there's a part where Juno, one of the side characters, I think she's a Timberwolf, aspiring, let's say, love interest for Legacy. She tries to be, but he has only eyes for Haru, so it's a doomed romance for her. And it doesn't get any better in that regard in this season, kind of. Not even when Legacy's fucking shaved wolf. She still likes him, even more so. Maybe she's like, he's so distinguished. Oh, you poor child. Anyway, Juno doesn't believe Louis when he gives out all that talk about, I was living a lie, and I'm all about the winners and the losers now. I'm always going to be a winner now. And so she talks him down a bit from that, gives him something to think about, and that's pretty cool. Also, we learned that Legacy punching Louis in the face and giving him a stern talking to at the end of season 1 is actually what caused Louis to attack the Leo group at all. So we recognize that Legacy we saw that in season 1 as well, but Legacy definitely has the biggest effect on Louis and what he does. So of course they're getting together at the tail end of the season, and Louis has another revelation and knows that what he has been doing in the Leo group is also lying to himself. Again, that's his development in the season, and it's done very well, and the show takes its time to really make you understand, okay, why is Louis doing this? Why is he part of the Leo group now? And when he turns around on that again, why he does that. And we assumed before he wasn't able to live with his decision to abandon Haru in regards to why he helped Legoshi at the end of season 1. Felt like at one point he abandons her. It seems like he's abandoning Haru to the Leo group at the end of first season for the sake of his career. But now we know that he actually couldn't live with that. Whereas like Legoshi talking to him and saying, what are you doing? She's your friend. You loved her. She loved you. And you were just abandoning her to not be in contact with that dark underground and whatever, and to keep up your appearance to be the next B-star. And that gives Louis a lot to think about. And that's also, what makes him do all that and then become part of Leo Group, because like what he's basically faced with the realization that all he has been doing was just political ploy he did to please his father. And that's not actually what he wants. And that he's just a puppet and he hates that. So he's just trying to break out from that. But the way he chooses to do that is also not the right way for him. So from the first season on, we go through several steps for Louis to realizing what his path is. And some missteps here and there, of course, again, in this season again. But I think at the end of the season, he might actually be kind of where he wants to be. And that's pretty cool. And I liked his character development a lot. I think it was really cool. He has some really badass scenes in this season. Like, fucking badass as hell scenes. Like from the scene where he tries to force his adopted father at gunpoint to sign his resignation from the school. It was so fucking good. I was like, holy shit, that's how you fucking make a stand. But yeah, it's really cool. And like I said, his relation to Ibuki is also really well done. Ibuki really seems to believe in Louis. He even attacks an underling who badmouths him, threatening to pull that guy's tongue out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was also really cool, like saying the boss is the boss, deal with it. Like, yeah, fuck yeah.
I mean, those are the rules.
Those are the fucking rules, and Ibuki knows this. And all of that was really cool. I really enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, let's get to our other main character, Legoshi, who at the beginning of the season is kind of, this all started with the murder of Tam the alpaca, who was also part of the drama club that both Louis and Legoshi are part of. And one of the main goals or main drives behind the show seemed at the beginning to be to find out who killed Tam. And that kind of took a bit of a backseat in the first season, which was more focused on the developing relationship between Legoshi and Haru, and Legoshi dealing with his bestial side. That was more the focus of the first season. And then, stuff with the abduction of Haru at the end by the Leo group and resolving that shit. But the second season goes back to that plot point where it's like, okay, Tam was killed and Legoshi is trying to find out who actually did it. That's pretty much where we are at the beginning of the season. This is immediately what the focus is put on in regards to Legoshi's character. And yeah, there's still this unsteady, unclear relationship between him and Haru. Like, he kind of wants to bring it to the next level, but she is hesitant to go public. So there's a bit of back and forth between. And, there's some wrenches thrown into that in regards to what Legoshi's confidence in how he feels about Haru and everything. There is Aoba, the eagle guy, who says some words that get to Legoshi big time. He says he thinks that Legoshi only admires Haru as a stand-in for all herbivores rather than actually being romantically in love with her. And I don't think that's the case. I think Legoshi is probably just afraid to hurt her and getting hurt himself if he lets her get too close to him. And then her maybe deciding to go back to Louis, who, like I said, were also in kind of a romantic relationship before. But I think that's a misjudgment on Legoshi's part, because Haru seems to be into him pretty much. But she's also a bit hesitant because, she's never been with a carnivore. And also she doesn't know how much she can open herself. And, she has also these weird feelings. Her instinct as a rabbit, I guess, is to be eaten, which is one of the more disturbing scenes in at the end of season 1, when they actually have this kind of overnight thing at the Love Hotel where nothing actually happens, but it gets very close. So there's still this uncomfortable tension between those two. And Haru is still constantly on Legosi's mind when he should be focusing on other things, like training, for example. He does a lot of training with Goin in this season. And like I said, Haru wants to be with Legosi and doesn't care about him trying to become stronger for all herbivores by controlling his lust for meat, which he tries to do in this season. But she also doesn't know how to convey that to him in a way. It seems they have some problem talking to each other in this season, at least at some points. Legosi even proposes to Haru at some point, but she brushes him off, even though she doesn't seem to hate the idea. She seems to be like, oh, that's nice, but no, you're just kidding. Come on, be serious and stuff like that. So she wants to be with him, but she doesn't want to commit, I feel like, too much. It's a weird thing between those two, and they both seem to be not quite sure yet what they actually want from this relationship. They're very cute together, and Haru tells him at some point that she likes him, but is worried about Louis, even though not in a romantic way, but that also kind of makes Legosi worry again. It's a teen romance.
Oh, for certain.
Yeah. It's absolutely. It's like these two characters haven't figured themselves out yet. How are they supposed to figure this blossoming relationship out? It's ridiculous. That is super hard. That is super hard even when you know who you are. And those two definitely don't know who they are yet in their lives. So this is a very turbulent and very hard to figure out and control thing, this romance between theirs. Add to that all the things with Legosi being a carnivore and her being a herbivore, which is not really being done. It's really interesting to watch these two together, though I feel like the focus in the season is not as much on that as in the previous one. Would you agree, John? I feel like it takes a bit backseat.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely more Louis and Legosi's story. Like, I'd say about half and half. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's half. Let's say half. It's the basically Louis' development, and I guess Legosi's development aside, to that, and also all the stuff, the plot stuff. We actually have a lot of plot in this, in regards to who Tam's killer is and what that does once Legosi finds out who it is and everything, and what it does to him and what he can actually do about it and stuff like that. So that's one half, and the other half is the character development of Legosi and Louis, and both of them either together or as singular people trying to find out who they are and what they want. And yeah, that's the drive behind the season, and it makes it for a very strong subject matter, and keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's really cool. We have a couple of new characters that are added to the mix that are kind of interesting. I mean, some returning ones, like I said, Juno is returning. Of course, Haru, she's also one of the main characters, I guess. Not so much in this season, but definitely in the first one. We have Jack, Legosi's best friend, who's, guess, supposed to be a golden retriever or something, who is a very fitting dog breed they chose to be his best friends, and the way he behaves. Because Jack is scared because he feels he and Legosi are drifting apart, and their friendship won't last much longer when Legosi is focusing more and more on finding out who Tam's killer is, and focusing more and more on controlling his own lust for meat and everything, and he becomes very distant, I guess, towards Jack, and that is very disturbing to him, and it worries him, and it's troublesome. And there's this very heartfelt, sad scene between those two where they are sitting next to each other and talking to each other, and it really pulls at your heartstrings. And Jack says, the stronger you get, the more miserable you become. And Legosi says, my strength isn't meant for making myself happy. And I'm like just sitting on my couch like, man,
it's like, oh,
Legosi, you are wrong. You deserve to be happy too. The soundtrack also hit really hard in that scene. I mean, it does through the entirety of the season, through the entirety of the series. But it's so good in that scene. It's so fucking sad. It's like, no, Legosi, you haven't gotten it yet. Your happiness is also very important, my man. You need to understand that. You can't only be like the ultra altruist. You need to also take care of yourself. It's very important. And yeah, Jack realizes that, but Legosi is so focused on helping other people, helping Haru, helping Louis, helping finding the killer of Tam, and thus helping the drama club and everything, that he he doesn't take care enough of himself. And that is evident throughout all of this season. And he has to learn that. And I still think he isn't quite there yet. He's still putting others so far ahead of himself and their needs instead of his own needs. That is still a problem. But again, he takes a few steps this season to realize that in a way. But yeah, this is one of those very good moments in the show where one of the side characters that he didn't pay that much attention to before in the first season, but now do, because Jack has this very long-standing and important relationship with Legacy. So his words ring very true when he says them to Legacy. Sadly, not to Legacy himself, which is a bummer. But he'll get there, I hope. But yeah, it's really cool. And Gohin also returns, the panda. His mission in this season is to train Legacy, to basically turn him into a meat-denying, super strong wolf. He shaves Legacy's hair. I don't even know what that is supposed to do. Is it symbolic, I guess? But
I guess. I mean, they don't really expand on that. Just, we're going to shave you. Oh, okay.
Look not as threatening anymore, and it helps him to concentrate, I guess. Legacy is kind of going on a spiritual journey in a way when he trains with Gohin, because he's trying to focusing on not wanting to consume meat, even if he smells it and stuff like that, and controlling his urges and everything. And I guess if you are doing like a monk thing, you shave your head. So it's basically that. Only because he's a wolf, his entire body is shaved. That's it, kind of, right? I mean,
I guess, sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like I said, it's symbolic, it's an analogy, whatever. It's what he does. So yeah, that's what happens. And for a whole long time in this season, Legacy runs around and looks like a fucking dog. Looks cute like that, don't get me wrong, but it's funny the way he looks. And of course, that ends by the end of the season when he comes to a realization, and we'll get to that when we get into the plot stuff. And yeah, the no meat training is hardcore. It's rather no turkey than cold turkey, which, in this regard. But yeah,
God damn it.
Legacy definitely wants to become stronger without succumbing to his instincts, and he doesn't want to leave the drama club, because if he stays, he can act as a deterrent for Temp's killer and protect everyone, because the killer is also part of the drama club. So he needs to find some way to control himself. And he becomes very, I don't know what the right word is, dangly. He loses a lot of weight. He loses a lot of muscle strength and stuff like that. Like he can't do that jaw pull thing anymore, which is this game they play, the carnivores play.
Tug of war with your jaw.
Yeah, tug of war with your jaw. He can't do it anymore after he goes through the training, has gone through the training for a while. But the upside from that is Legacy is learning to not rely only on his jaw, but also use his other limbs more effectively, like herbivores have to do if they want to survive. So he basically learns to utilize his whole body when he fights, which comes very much into play later on. And it's pretty cool to see him go through that. But yeah, that is Goin's role in this season, to train Legacy in the herbivore ways. And another new character we get introduced to in this season is Pina, who is like this sheep boy, I guess. It's supposed to be a sheep, right?
Yeah, a doll sheep.
Doll sheep, okay. When we meet him, he acts like a dick.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Very self-important, very self-righteous.
But we quickly learn that it's kind of a facade, at least in some regards. Like, he realizes there is some friction between some of the carnivores, because Legacy does later on some investigative questions regarding Temp's death. So the other carnivores feel like he's suspecting them. So Pina acts in a certain way that kind of nullifies the tension, especially between Bill, the tiger, and Legacy, who have never really seen eye to eye. Already not in the first season, definitely not. And it gets worse in this season, at least, to a certain extent. But Pina kind of acts the way he does to diffuse that situation. And it's pretty cool to see him work. And you pretty quickly know what he's doing and why he's doing it. He's giving off some strong bisexual vibes,
Little bit.
Yeah, not only a little bit. Like he's really
Lot bit.
Yeah, he's playing with that a lot. But I think he's just teasing Legacy, which works. Every time he runs into Peter afterwards, he's really irritated and pissed off, which is kind of hilarious. Like he's trying to quit smoking, and Pina's intentionally blowing smoke in his face or something. It's really funny. Pina also later diffuses a possible blow up between Legacy and the killer, because if it came to a confrontation there and then, the drama club would probably be in danger of being dissolved. And they kind of want to stop that, because the drama club is this rare thing where both carnivores and herbivores work together very closely. So they both realize it's a very important thing in this world, in this school, to understand each other, which comes more and more in the forefront here. We also have like this small side story between two characters called Peach and Sheila. One is, I think, a leopard, and the other, or a cheetah, and the other one, was she also a sheep or something? I don't remember, or a goat. But yeah, one is herbivore, one is carnivore, and they are trying to legit understand each other outside keeping up like the charade which most of this world does. Like the herbivores, for example, do like this thing on their version of Facebook where they always take pictures with carnivores because it makes them look very popular and stuff like that. And
chase that clout.
Yeah, and in the beginning, Peach is doing that with Sheila as well, but, you know, after a while, they realize they actually want to become real friends and come to a real understanding, even though they come from completely different species and stuff like that. And yeah, they want to just, let's say, surpass that charade and get to a point where they understand each other thoroughly and not just doing like this social political thing, and become actual friends. And that's really touching and cute. And I like that was in here, because this show tries to do so much with, hey, here are these stand-in for maybe certain people in the real world, and maybe for trying to understand each other and obstacles that need to be overcome. And we always see kind of like the grand scheme of things, and then this microcosmos with Louis and Legacy and Haru. But, you know, seeing the side things as well this time around, like seeing what the other characters do and how it works on a normal daily basis between those two species, it's really cool. I really like that they put that in there. So that's nice. But yeah, the drama club is really important. A really important, let's say, breeding ground for that, for those kind of relationships to blossom. I mean, each groups, for the most part, keep to themselves. But you see there are some beginnings, some humble beginnings here, like with Sheila and Peach. So it's really important to keep that drama club alive. And, you know, if Legacy and the killer just went at it at a certain point in the show, that would be a big problem. So Pina interferes and also puts himself in harm's way a lot, especially later on in the season, which, you know, at one point, the show really wants to make you believe that that went really badly for him. You also get the feeling that the added bonus to saving the club for Pina here was to make the killer suffer as long as possible, that he ultimately crumbles under the pressure and does something stupid, which definitely works, because the killer definitely becomes more agitated the more time and more pressure is put on him, especially once he knows that other people know. And yeah, that's it pretty much for our characters in regards, not completely yet. Of course, we're going to go more into them as we talk about the plot. But aside from all the Louis stuff happening, like I said, the focus in this season is on finding out who the killer is. So Legacy, in the beginning, investigates a bit, tries to find out things. He meets with Hexai, who is like this giant rattlesnake and the security guard of Cheriton. And Hexai is basically the guy who eggs Legacy on. He's like, help me find out who the killer is. It has to be someone from the drama club, and you are in there, and I'm sure you are not the killer. So please investigate. Be a detective. Which kind of fits, because BEASTARS always had this kind of noir detective atmosphere to it, with the jazz and everything, and you know, the dimly lit hallways and stuff like that, and being outside under street lanterns and shit like that. All the stuff with the Yakuza, all of that has a very, very noir vibe to it. So it definitely fits that our main character becomes a detective. And he's not bad at it, actually. Like, he does a good job, considering he's just a high schooler, I guess.
Yeah, I was saying, considering he's basically just a kid.
Yeah, and he does kind of the right things. He asks the right questions. You can tell by how much certain people that are antagonized by that, and agitated. So yeah, it works. At the same time, the headmasters of all schools are pressuring Cheriton to produce the next BEASTAR since Louis left. So they decide to give that title to the student who solves Tem's murder. What a well-timed coincidence. So we know. So we got some other things riding on this, which will probably be more important in later parts of the story. And considering how the season shakes out, this leads to some very interesting possible future confrontations and developments. So we'll see. It's neat that they put that in there, but I also expected something like that to happen, that we would have kind of this battle for the B-star position between Legosi and Louis by the end, which is kind of what this leads to, which the first season already has led to in a way. But this is the logical follow-up to that. But yeah, Legosi investigates, at some point gets abducted and beaten up by the killer. At that point, we still don't know who that is yet. And Legosi at that point can't really put a finger on it yet because he has a cold, so his nose can't compensate for his blindfolded eyes. Which, you don't really think about, but yeah, that's a problem. Because usually he has this kind of daredevil power where he can see everything with his nose in a way. Now his senses are dulled. And the way they portray that visually in the show is really cool. Like, they do a really cool visual effect when he gets attacked and he can't quite make out who the killer is and what he looks like and everything. He just knows he's strong and he beats the shit out of him and everything. But Legosi takes a literal bite out of the guy and scares him away. So at that point, it's like, look out for a guy with a fresh scar somewhere on his body, I guess. And I don't know how much hints they throw in here at that point who the actual killer is. John, did you, before it was revealed, did you have a hint? Did you have a suspicion who our killer is from the group?
I wasn't 100% sure, but I really did have a feeling it was somebody else. And then when they revealed who it was, I was a little bit, okay, but it makes sense though, I guess, when you put it all together. Did
you suspect Bill?
Oh, for certain. I thought I had Bill pegged.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's an obvious red herring because he's this very brash, very loud tiger. He goes to the dark market to try some meat, and he's an idiot, and also he's very aggressive. He and Legosi fight, so it feels like that is the obvious choice, right? Because he's the most unlikable character of the group. But as it turns out, it's not Bill. It's Riz, who was a character that was mainly in the background. I don't know how much we actually saw of him in season 1.
Not much, I don't think.
Yeah, he might have been there. I need to go back and check now. I haven't done it yet. But he wasn't really that much in it, if at all. He was really in the background. He's just this giant fucking ass bear.
A literal 2-meter bear.
Yes, who is really nice and friendly to everyone and has like this appearance of a really, really cool dude. And he turns out to be the killer. And the reveal of that is super scary because you at some point can maybe see it coming, but Legosi just confronting him out of nowhere, really, and the swelling music rev up the tension. Like, it's basic. It's kind of like this Attack of Titan thing where spoilers for Attack on Titan season 2, where, two of the characters that we've been with for a while reveal that they are the Titan shifters, that they are the Colossal and the Armored Titan. And you're like, they just drop it.
Done so offhandedly. And so is this in BEASTARS.
He just says it out loud. I don't know if he says, "Did you kill Tem?" I think he just says, "You're the one who killed Tem, right?" We're on the same page, right? And you're like, "What the fuck?"
And we're just like,
excuse me? Yeah, it's amazing. And my jaw kind of dropped on the floor. I don't think Riz was really in the picture. He maybe was. I mean, everyone in the club kind of was. Aoba was as well at some point. But everyone who has a talking role in this. But Riz, kind of on the verge of being so strong and everything, feels like he's a good candidate for this. Because, it would have needed to be someone who beat the shit out of Legosi. Not a lot of people can do, even though he was weakened at that point because he had already started his training. But it was still a surprise in a way, especially how it was revealed and how it was staged. Really good. Pina de-escalates the situation, as explained before, for one reason or another. And yeah, it's at that point where we go even deeper into the metaphor of lust for meat in this show. Like, it's a stand-in for a bunch of different things. One of them being sexual desire, I would say, which feels even more relevant when it comes to Riz, because bears are naturally too strong and dangerous for everyone else. They are obligated to use medicine that causes muscle atrophy. That's what he does. So they basically have to chemically castrate themselves to not give into their desires and consume other people. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, you can, and especially considering how his and Tem's relationship was before that, because you can read a lot of romantic implications into that, in a way. And seeing the actual events that led to Tem's death for the first time are horrifying. It's so disturbing. Like the way that is framed, the way that is shown, and you realize after a while that this is Riz's perspective. And that is definitely not how this played out in reality. But this is how Riz remembers it. And that makes it even more horrifying.
Yeah, Riz definitely has a twisted vision of the truth.
He is definitely, I don't know if it's schizophrenia or something like that, but he has definitely a personality disorder. He's a sociopath. And yeah, he's so used to playing the good bear, but there are enough scenes that make it very clear he's barely holding it together. And it gets worse and worse once Legacy and Pina find out that he is the killer, and Pina is basically letting him hang over the fire and letting him roast for a while. And he is just so on edge every time. He's fucking on the verge of losing it every moment. He's basically a boiling pot the entire rest of the season. You feel like he could snap at any moment. And that brings a lot of tension into the show because you have no idea what he's gonna do. And he threatens Pina, a terrifying scene, which makes the way Pina later throws the threats back in Riz's face during a theater performance pretty kick-ass. He is outright saying, hey, if you don't back off, I'm gonna fucking eat you. And Pina at the theater show is not talking to Riz directly, but he's talking to the audience and saying something that is directed basically as Riz is like, yeah, try it, motherfucker. I'm not afraid of you. It's so fucking good. It's so, If you weren't on board with Pina before that because he's a bit of a jackass, after that you are. After that you're definitely in the Pina camp.
100%.
And yeah, it's so fucking cool. But yeah, what I was talking about earlier with the implications, how Tem's murder actually went compared to what Riz actually thinks went on. Riz has convinced himself that Tem gave himself to Riz willingly to elevate their friendship to another level. And when he talks about that, and the pictures that are shown, and how happy he is about it, and he talks about it like this, oh, it was such a divine gesture from him, and he is a true friend, and he made our friendship so much more important by giving himself to me and letting me eat him. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, you're such a fucking psychopath! What the fuck? This is the way he smiles all the time to keep up appearance, and it's so scary. It's so disturbing, and it's so well done, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Thought it was great how this show made me fucking worried for everyone because they were around Riz. They did a really good job at painting him as this complete sociopath. And you also kind of understand where he's coming from, because bears are put in this difficult position where they have to take these shitty pills all the time that control their urges instead of finding a natural way for it. And it brings them a lot of pain. And apparently Riz is constantly in pain through the muscle atrophy and everything. Like, his life is pain all the way from beginning to end, because he belongs to that species that needs to be held in check because of what society is, because herbivores and carnivores need to live safely together. And since bears are too fucking primal, they can't do it without these pills. So in order to live up to society standards, he has to live in pain all the time. And that could make certain people snap. I can totally see that. I can see where he's coming from. Doesn't mean I agree with what he's done.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah, it really, and it shows. And he only can keep up appearances for so long. And Yeah, again, Riz says by Tem letting himself getting eaten, which is not what happened, he fucking violently devoured him. I'm pretty sure of that. They don't show it, but again, you can pretty much guess that this is what happened. And Riz has just talked himself into, oh no, Tem did it willingly. And he was my friend, and he knew what I needed from him, and we're in this loving relationship, and he loved me, and this is what I needed, and he did it to help me and stuff like that. So he says they actually overcame the difference between their species, which is ridiculous. And Legacy at that point tells him how it is. He says the only way to overcome the difference between species is love, to which Riz retorts, carnivores have no love in them, only hatred and solitude. Again, woof. That's some dark shit. That's some dark shit. You know that he went through a lot of shit and couldn't cope with it anymore. And yeah, we have a short fight between them in a school bathroom, I think.
Yeah, like a shower.
Yeah, which looks awesome. Again,
yes.
Like makes perfect use of the strengths of CG in the form of very dynamic camera movement, which I think is always the biggest plus if you use CG in your show. Not for characters necessarily. Of course, you can do even more if your characters and your backgrounds are CG, because it looks more fluid and more organic and everything. But yeah, that's definitely moving backgrounds and being able to move the camera more freely is definitely the biggest plus of CG in anime. And BEASTARS, since it's a fully CG show, and puts in the work and the animation frames in the action scenes, shows you how it's done and how it looks if it's done by people who know what they're fucking doing. And it's really great. There are not many fights in the show. There's not much action in BEASTARS. Not in the first season, not in this season. But if it's in there, it looks fucking great. It looks fucking great.
I mean, we have come to know that Orange is the 3D CG studio to go to.
Absolutely. You could argue Ufotable as well, to a certain extent, and I recently watched a movie that proves that again, but they're also more about combining 3D environments with 2D characters, which is my favorite thing to do, actually. Jujutsu Kaisen did that as well in this season, which I thought looked mostly great, but also had some parts where it was like, yeah, it didn't pull it off perfectly. Yeah, some of this doesn't gel correctly. So if you want the maximum fusion between great character movement and great action scenes, definitely get it in Orange stuff, because it's all CG and they just know how to handle their fucking action camera. It's great to look at. So yeah, at this point, they have this small clash and are coming to an understanding that they resolve all of this with a fight on New Year's Eve. So that's where we'll have our big showdown. Fitting, right? New Year's Eve, starting over and everything. So all of this is going to end at the end of this year. And at this point, Legacy lets Louis know that he identified the culprit behind Tem's killing and that Louis is needed in the school, even if Louis still wants to wrap himself in the darkness of the Leo group at this point, because in its own way that is easier than confronting his own shortcomings and his past life. Legacy sees this and says, come on, the school needs you. This is not only about you. And that's who Legacy is. He's on the opposite side of the spectrum. Louis is kind of doing the egoistic thing and saying, no, I'm hiding. I don't care about anyone else. I just need to do this because I feel better here. I need to be with the Leo group. And Legacy, who always puts too much other people's needs in front of his own, is like, no, other people need you. Come, we need you. You need to help us. Because he does that all the time. So he understands that he still needs to learn to do some things like Louis does and take care of himself as well. So these two need each other. They're two sides of the same coin. And the more they interact with each other, the more they can grow in a very positive way because they can learn from each other. So of course, it has to come as it does. And we have like this very nice moment when Louis actually realizes that Legacy is right and that Legacy means a lot to him and all the people at the school mean a lot to him actually. And you have this combination of Ibuki's and Louis' relationship at that point, which might be the best relationship in this season. I'm not sure. But, you know, in terms of how it's structured, how it's developed and everything, aside from Legacy and Louis, of course, are our main characters and it makes sense that their relationship is well developed. But in terms of how Ibuki and Louis are related to each other and everything, and how Ibuki helps Louis evolve and stuff like that. It's definitely one of the standouts in this season, in my opinion. And yeah, the respect and care Louis receives from Ibuki, and now the rest of the Leo group, as a result from that, lets Louis realize that he loves that part of carnivores more than he fears their other aspects. And he realizes that this is what he has always loved about Legacy. And it's funny that this relationship results in, an actual interspecies understanding. Like the wolf and the deer, who were kind of at their throats at the beginning of season 1, finally, and Louis then being in this dark place with the fucking lions, who are kind of the worst of the worst in certain aspects, and him being in that environment and having those relationships makes him realize, because, he has this son-father relationship to Ibuki, that he actually loves carnivores, just like Legacy loves herbivores. So, yeah, it's really cool. I love that part of the show. I love that, man, this is so well done. This is so good. And how he ended up here and how he realized that. And yeah, at that point, he decides to quit the Leo group. And Ibuki takes him for a drive. And maybe shoots him in a tunnel. At least that's how the episode ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at the same time, Legacy and Riz are about to start their fight, and it turns out Riz might have devoured Pina, and that's how the penultimate episode of this season ends. Talk about a mean fucking cliffhanger. Jesus!
And then, man. Fuck. Then, without going into the last episode, the way they kind of start with the ending sequence.
Yes, the ending sequence
gives it some cool new meaning.
Exactly. The ending sequence of this show has always been Louis and Ibuki driving in a car. And of course, that's just, endings are whatever. They can relate to the show, or they can just show off your characters. It doesn't necessarily have to mean much. But this has an actual plot relevance because it's what happens in this fucking episode, in the beginning or at the ending of the penultimate and the beginning of the last episode. And you realize, oh shit, wait, is she actually gonna kill him? No, that can't happen. And it's super well done. Like, actually switching around ED and OP at that point. And it was like, oh, this is so clever. I never saw it coming.
You were so baffled. You were saying to me, you were like, why did they switch it? I was like, oh, just watch.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. It's really cool how they did it. And I enjoyed it a lot. I love when OPs and EDs are, in some way incorporated into the actual show, and also the actual show incorporated into the OPs and EDs, which a lot of shows have done. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Back Arrow recently, and stuff like that. So Jujutsu Kaisen did it to an extent as well, at least applied some changes when stuff happened in the show. So I always love that. And this is, again, a new version of that, where it's like, oh, no, actually, you always were watching the end of the show. You just didn't fucking know it. It was like, God damn it.
It's like when I was talking about Talentless Nana, the intro sequence is the events of the show with no context.
Yeah.
So as you get each further episode you get in, you're like, oh, that's that. So it's really neat with that. And this show does that too, in a different way, to a different effect, but works so well.
Yes, it's really cool. I loved it. And I hope I'll see more of that clever stuff being done. But yeah, of course, as it turns out, neither Pina nor Louis are dead. Ibuki basically commits suicide to let Louis escape the Leo group and the dark market unscathed in a way, which is harsh. I didn't want that to happen to that character because I liked Ibuki a lot. I guess I know why he does it, and they kind of explain that in a way, how it all works with the code of the Yakuza and everything. But still, I didn't want that for him because he did a lot for Louis. Like you said, he was a better father to him than his actual adopted father was. Yeah. And goddamn, that shouldn't have happened. I was very sad when that happened. But I know why he did it, and it shows how much Louis meant to him. It's the ultimate sacrifice, and the fact that a carnivore who is in this kind of environment does this to his basically surrogate son, it's really heartfelt and it's cool. And man, tugged again at the heartstrings. And yeah, Riz only scratched Pina to make Legacy lose his cool in the fight. Doesn't work, because Legacy is much better at controlling his senses now due to his training. So he knows Pina is still alive.
Say scratched, more like slashed his gut.
Yeah, I guess, kind of. But he didn't outright kill him, right?
No,
he didn't mortally wound him.
You can tell Pina's not having a good time.
No, he's not. But he's still alive, so that counts for something. I mean, earlier, speaking about how Legacy can figure this out now, like I said, he went on a real spiritual journey. At some point, he has a spiritual experience when eating a bug.
Oh my god, that episode was a trip.
Yeah, when his fur grows back, like, at that point, he learns that he has to respect every life he takes, because insects are below other animals, even in this show, I think, and are not sentient, like the mammals or birds, and are also considered food, I guess. But yeah, Legacy eats one and then has this mind trip where he talks to the bug, to the insect, and it's like, oh, I understand now. I need to respect every animal. And from that new understanding, he basically opens his chakras or what have you. I don't fucking know. Grows his fur back and is now on a new level of its existence, kind of, where he has surpassed a normal carnivore life and can control his urges better, and his senses are in full power, and he also can fight like herbivores do, but also combined with carnivore skills and stuff like that. So yeah, he's become the martial arts wolf master. I don't fucking know. But it's cool. It's really cool. Doesn't mean that his fight against Riz is an easy one. But yeah, he also realizes he might have ended up like Riz if he wasn't surrounded by his friends. But yeah, he's on the verge of losing the duel regardless, because Riz is just so fucking strong. He's a fucking monster. We know from the get-go, once the reveal happens, that he is a monster, and it becomes more clear and clear. But physically, Jesus Christ, that guy is a fucking monster. Holy shit, on all levels. But yeah, of course, as it has to happen, at that moment, Louis arrives on the scene, and he actually helps Legacy by giving up one of his legs and letting Legacy eat it. And Legacy gains more power from that because, he is a carnivore and actually manages to beat Riz. And you might think, whoa, holy shit, is Louis now gonna be a fucking amputee? Is he gonna be... Is he gonna jump around on one leg? We learned earlier in the season that this shit happens more often than you think, apparently. There's like this scene where, by accident, Tao, I think it's a panther. He's a panther, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Tears off the arm of Kibi, the anteater, during... is he an anteater? I think so. Or something. And he tears off his arm during theater practice, by accident. And apparently that stuff happens regularly because carnivores tend to lose control over their strength. And because of this, there have been big advancements made in artificial limb reattachment. And yeah, so it's fine that Louis does that. And I don't even know if Legacy eats the full leg.
I think it's just his foot.
Yeah, it might just be his foot, yeah. But again, probably some way I don't remember if we've seen if he has some kind of artificial foot now, or if they just grew new tissue or something like that. But it was probably going to be fine. At least I assume so. But it's still a sacrifice, right? It's something he would have never done earlier. Right. But he's like, Legacy needs this to win this fight, and I will make that sacrifice. Both of them come to a realization in their ensuing conversation. Like, Louis sheds tears for the first time because he lost Ibuki, who became more important to him than he had realized, like I said, surrogate father. And Legacy has to face the fact that being a wolf that doesn't eat meat will only get him so far in life because he's kind of denying part of what he is, which I've been saying from the start, that the thing with Gohin and the training and everything, and him trying to deny who he is, and also that was also in the first season where he tries to completely suppress his urges and everything. I'm saying this is not the way. You can try to become better at it, but you can't completely push it out of your life because this is who you are. You are a carnivore, and denying that, suppressing that, will only make you weaker and make you not who you are supposed to be. And yeah, Legacy realizes that here, and Louis offers the leg to him that is marked with a number 4 that has always reminded him of his origin as livestock at the dark market. So him offering that leg up to Legacy lets him rid himself of the chains of his past, and it lets Legacy get the strength to beat Riz into submission. And Legacy looks really awesome after he devoured meat, by the way.
Like a Super Saiyan wolf.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the fight is amazing looking in general. Wish it went on a bit longer, though. It's a pretty short fight. I mean, both fights in the season are, but it's still great. It's still great. And yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool culmination for the character development of these two characters, and it all relates to a part of the plot. It's not just character development itself, but it also matters in regards to that they actually, this is the only way how they can beat Riz. So yeah, it's all very relevant, and it's so well done, and the realizations the characters go through ring so true, and those two characters being that and being together in that way and helping each other in that way is so well done, and it has been built up kind of from the get-go, from the first season, and I was so fucking happy with it. How did you feel about it, John? Like the culmination of the season and let's say that part of Legacy's and Louis' story.
It's oh man, I don't even know how to describe how I felt, because you get to that point and you see this reunion. They didn't realize how much they needed each other all along.
Yes.
And just seeing them, especially Louis, when he starts crying and saying, "Hey, I guess I was wrong about you after all," and all of that. And it's like it takes a lot to say, "Hey, I was wrong."
Mm-hmm.
So seeing Louis, this character who up to this point has been very proud, very,
yes.
Just he's had to be his own advocate because he had a shitty life. It was nice to see this
Absolutely.
turn around and the two of them, kind of reach this understanding, and then basically, however you want to view it as, possibly sexual or not,
Mm-hmm.
Louis literally offering his body to Legacy to help him out.
There are so many sexual undertones in BEASTARS, so
Yes.
you can almost in almost every scene you can read some sexual innuendo into it. I mean, it's not super overt, and characters like winking at each other all the time. It's like, I mean, Pina does that, but and there's some of that, but mostly it's just some implied things with how meat and meat consumption and desire for meat and desire for blood and everything is used in this show. I mean, that was always done in a way. I mean, that's what vampires come from, which again, where we have the Bela Lugosi reference. A lot of that is based on, sexual desire and sexual deviancy and stuff like that. And that also being a big part of that, and the attraction of that kind of those characters and shit like that. So this show knows where some of its roots are, and it's very prevalent here. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of symbolism, a lot of analogies and metaphors in this show that work in that regard, and that you can read into if you want to.
Yeah, and just the turn for Riz, as we slowly start to see what's actually in his head. That's like, and seeing it all come to a head when he and Legacy, actually fight. That's, man.
It's good stuff, and the tension is very high. There were some parts still in this show. We talked about how good it looked, and Orange doing a really good job being the best CG studio. There's occasionally, just wanted to mention that because, this has basically been me singing hymns for the season. But, there are some points of critique as well. And with CG shows, those always lie with me for the visuals. This is a slight nitpick. Of course it is. There's still sometimes Orange uses too few frames and slows the animation down to match. A good example for that is the scene of Jack playing Nintendo 3DS with the other dog dude. When the Legacy calls him on his phone, it looks like your PC is out of RAM or something, and the frame rate is tanking because it has to buffer or something. It's really distracting, but thankfully, it rarely happens. And, that's one of the things.
I honestly don't even remember that.
There you go. Yeah, all the good stuff just washes over that. And there are so many positive things. Kick-ass, stylish, OP, cool ED that is later used in a very creative way. We have fantastic soundtracks. Like there's this hauntingly beautiful vocal track in the soundtrack that gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. I love it to death. don't know the title name. Sorry, but it's fantastic. The focus on subtle facial animation still amazes me, especially considering this is all CG. Go Orange, what the fuck? You are amazing when you actually put the work in, which you do 99% of the time. And there's great humor in the show, like Legacy cross-dressing to convince Louis to come support him in his fight against Riz. It's a really funny scene. Like, several moments in that made me laugh out loud. Really well-written dialogue. There's so much good stuff in the show that you could just look over the few nitpicks here and there when it comes to the visual stuff. Everything else is fucking great. And like you said, the tension that comes into the show when we reveal Thames Killer and everything is also unlike anything we've seen in the first season, and it's really fucking good. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, on the facial animations, I feel like, they were always great in season 1. I feel like they just touched them up ever so slightly in season 2, and it makes it look that much better.
I would imagine they programmed some new routines in there for certain moments that are very new and animated some of that stuff in extra detail and put some, like you said, some extra touches on it that they didn't do in season 1. It's really, I have to directly compare both seasons. I mean, it was a long time between season 1 and season 2, but you're probably right. It looked very detailed in a lot of scenes, and there's so much subtle things to be seen on the characters' faces. And considering how some or most other CG anime look in regards to character faces and facial animations, look fucking dead inside. And none of the characters in this show look dead. They're so fucking alive. They're so real. If you can call a talking 2-meter wolf or bear or something real. But yeah, they look real and they feel real. And a lot of that is done through the amazing animations on their bodies and their faces. Orange, in my opinion, if there's an award for CG animation, Orange would get that award probably every year because they're just so fucking good at their job. So, yeah, this is kind of where the story ends. Like, Legacy and Riz get arrested for devouring because even if, Legacy didn't kill Louis, he still devoured meat. That's forbidden in this society. So he kind of goes to juvie, I guess, but gets released because of witness testimonies from his friends. But now he has a criminal record. And Riz is behind bars, obviously, because he's a fucking killer. But yeah, where does this leave us? Thames' murder, the central mystery and setup of this show, has been solved, and the killer has been brought to justice. Louis has safely escaped the dark market, and both he and Legacy have become true friends and found their own strength. So the only plot thread hanging in the air is the relationship between Legacy and Haru and the decision who will be the next B-star. I don't know if that can sustain a third season.
Well, the manga ended last October, but according to what I was just looking up, the current anime takes us up through about chapter 99. There's like 96 chapters after that, so 96, 97 still after that. So there's apparently still plenty of story to tell.
So I would say we could get 2 more seasons out of this.
Maybe,
probably.
At least, depending.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, if we have 99 now and 96 are still... Yeah, sure. Could work. I mean, I would be kind of fine if the show ended here, if we got a proper epilogue, but we didn't get that, so...
Yeah, for as great as this season was, it ended on kind of an odd note.
Yeah, very abrupt. It's like, hey, you learn, okay, they're behind bars, and, I think it ends on Legacy and Haru standing together again and not really knowing where their relationship will go and stuff like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's very sudden after that. Considering how many plot threads have been wrapped up at this point, you would expect to be there more of a bookend to this.
Yeah.
But there kind of isn't. It's just like, no, Riz is in prison now and Legacy has a criminal record. Does that dampen his chances of becoming a B-star? I don't fucking know. But, I mean, he found out who the killer is, so maybe they'll... I don't fucking know. We'll see. I mean, I hope the show, both seasons were a big success. I would imagine that maybe since they run on Netflix, that there are more chances for continued seasons, even if it's not a promotion of the manga. So We'll see. We'll see what happens. I definitely, if it's done properly, I would definitely enjoy a third season. I just can't really see how much is gonna happen in future seasons that will be as riveting and as engaging as those two seasons were. Don't get me wrong, I'm still interested to see where the relationship between Haru and Legacy goes. I'm interested who is gonna be the B-star and what that entails. But on the other hand, I don't mind that being ambiguous. If we had like one more OVA episode or something that kind of gives us a nice epilogue, I would be fine with these two seasons being the whole story. Because it's kind of a self-contained, complete arc for at least our two main characters. And that would be okay. It's just like it ended a bit too sudden to be completely satisfying in that regard. So I guess we need at least another season for it to feel complete. But yeah, which apparently they intend to do. Otherwise, they probably would have gone for an original thing or something. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If there's going to be another season, I hope so. I don't know if any has been announced yet. I mean, recently Orange worked on that new Netflix Godzilla show, but only on the side. That was mainly done by Bones, and Orange was only responsible for the CG. I don't know if they're working on BEASTARS Season 3 at the same time. We'll see. I hope we'll get that third season, I guess, because I want a really nice ending to the story. I wouldn't mind seeing that all our characters get a happy end. God knows they deserve it. All of them. All of them. All those lovely, lovely people. And we'll see if that happens or if we get something else whenever a third season might or might not hit. And if it doesn't, I guess I can live with this being a sudden ending because the resolution to Louis and Legacy story was so good. So that's all right. We have seen worse endings. Right, Promised Neverland Season 2. Oof, all right. Let's not dwell on the bad things. Let's continue with the good things. And that means we have one more thing left to do. Best of the season. All right, best of the season time. Holy fucking shit.
There was too much this season.
Too much good stuff. It has been more difficult and less difficult than other seasons, but it's been very difficult in this season for me, John. I don't know how you felt about it.
I mean, I honestly feel this is looking forward a little too much, but I think next season we have two clear winners, so...
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh, shit. So, I feel like there's 4 pretty good candidates.
Yes, I have also 4.
I have a feeling there's a lot of overlap, maybe all overlap.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
Because Attack on Titan was...
a roller coaster.
Yes, and we talked at length about that shit, and I don't know what to expect from it going forward, but I know what we got this time around was exciting as hell, and I mean, obviously we're going to get more of that, so maybe it's a good choice. It's a good choice, but you can hang on, because we're going to see where you go next year, Attack on Titan.
Exactly. I'm going to postpone giving Attack on Titan another Best of the Season award as well, mainly because it already had at least 2.
Yeah.
And also, I want to see how the final season ends first, because it can still go horribly wrong, as we've elaborated on in our review of this first part of the final season. Although, like you said, the season would be very deserving of this award. Don't get me wrong.
Skate.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Skate was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It had such a great cast, and it's just... You always have a good time when you see Bones just, when you know they're having a good time making it. And, I'm not a skater.
Me neither.
But I could appreciate what the show was doing. It had, it's a lot of fun characters, great music. The... board designs by Studio No Border. I hope to see more of their work going forward. So that's also a really good choice. And I'm not sure, but I liked it a lot. I think another logical good choice is Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because fuck, that show is just excel. And all Itadori and company are all great for different
Hmm.
reasons, and I'm glad that we got a really fleshed out look at all of these characters. And again, there's more of that coming. There's the movie that's coming up, and there's without a doubt going to be another season of this show because the sh
God, I hope so.
it hit hard and people really liked it. I mean, it apparently won Anime of the Year thanks Anime Awards. I still don't quite agree with how the Anime Awards work, but that's fine.
Uh-huh.
But I'm certain we'll see more of that. So, maybe we'll hold on to that the way we did Attack on Titan. The last logical choice is the one we just talked about. It's BEASTARS, right? It's got to be on the short list as well. The short list is very long this time around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are the four logical choices this time around. So I don't know. Was that your list as well?
It is, yeah. I'm just gonna try to do it because I don't have a clear winner, but I have decided on one, and it was very tough. I hope we get to eat our cake, have our cake and eat it too, but we'll see.
That's what this show is all about.
Yeah, I guess. We're always cheating when it comes to best of the season. I mean, I don't know what the last time is that we both chose the same show. But yeah, we haven't talked about it yet. Skate is, for me, like the super tight package of sports anime, which I love, and ridiculous nonsense fun times with the Da Boys. Also, with arguably the best anime villain in a long time. Just when it comes to fun factor. Yeah, Adam is the best. Adam is the fucking best. Great animation by Bones, and it gets a huge plus for being an anime original, so not being based on a source material. The relationship between Ricky and Langa is sweet and endearing to no end, and the other characters maybe fall a bit short compared to that, but get enough screen time, and they're also ridiculously fun and funny. And you know what they are about, and it's all around, it's a fucking good time. Just the whole thing is so much damn fun and so entertaining. So I thought Skate was great, and it would definitely have deserved this award, especially because, anime originals are still kind of rare, and especially the good ones, and one should highlight that. And I wish we could award 3 awards, but BEASTARS, we just talked about it, executed on a lot of the promises from season 1 and kept me on the edge of my seat. I loved the deeply disturbing horror aspects of the season, but also the heartfelt, I guess, bookend to Legacy and Louis' story. A bunch of cool new, and in one case, terrifying characters. Some good short bits of action interspliced, even though that isn't the focus, same as in season 1. No, the focus is on the excellent character drama and exploring several psychological and social themes through the herbivore and carnivore analogy. It's just so different and cool. It's just a fucking cool show. It's so neat. I think, yeah, it's great. And the second season, I wouldn't necessarily call it better than the first season per se, because the first season was just a really good start to all of this. But it's definitely a worthy follow-up, and it's at least as good as the first season, if not better. Maybe I would have to rewatch both seasons and then decide. But what they pulled off is fantastic, and it's a great adaptation. And considering it's all CG, it also gets a plus because it's a really good-looking CG show, which rarely happens. So good shit. But for me, Jujutsu Kaisen is everything I want from anime, and from shonen and more. Like, great characters, good jokes, outstanding production values, really dark and depressing at times, but so funny and heartwarming at others. Amazing character dynamics, amazing fights, the best bromance in all of anime. Definitely one of the best musical fight scene edits in any media ever. Like, Coldplay's Remember to that final fucking fight scene of that season, I'm still watching it. I'm still listening to that song. I'm still watching that scene. I've shown that scene to so many people. It's like that scene in My Hero Academia where Deku fights Muscular and where Bakugo escapes from the fangs of the League of Villains. It's one of those scenes. And it's also not only just the music being timed perfectly, but also the show actually edited to that. And that song was, as far as I've come to learn, actually written for that scene in the show.
Really?
So it was like, hey, we need something that fits that. And yeah, they gave it to Code Red, and they knocked out a fucking banger. and it fits perfectly, and it's super great. And that I feel like that doesn't happen as much with insert songs, and I love it to death. And yeah, it's so damn cool and thrilling and sad and lovable and funny and stunning to look at and listen to, and I loved every second of it. I can't even imagine them keeping that kind of quality up for however many seasons they need to finish the story. So I'm just gonna give it to the show now before it loses its shine. And everyone knows I'm the shonen action guy, so who am I even kidding? So it needs to be Jujutsu Kaisen for me. I would love to give it to BEASTARS, but we also have given it to BEASTARS before, so I'm okay with not giving it to BEASTARS this time around. That show is in our list, in our best of the season list already, so that is good, and it belongs there. Jujutsu Kaisen isn't yet, and I don't know if it will be, which is why I regret that I didn't give the best of the season award to My Hero Academia Season 3, but I don't know if Jujutsu Kaisen will be as good as it was in this first season, and I don't know if My Hero Academia will ever be as good as it was in its third season. So, we'll see. Right now it isn't. And so I should give the awards when I feel like they are the most well-deserved. And in this season, definitely Jujutsu Kaisen, for me, deserves this award because it's peak shonen, and I fucking love shonen action shows. So, what the fuck? Jujutsu Kaisen, even if it has a very difficult title to pronounce, takes it for me this time. John, what is it going to be for you?
I didn't think of this, but before you said it, but yeah, we did give it once to BEASTARS before.
It doesn't mean anything, but it could be a reason.
Yes, and it is important, I feel like, to put a highlight on anime originals too. So BEASTARS is great. Jujutsu Kaisen was incredible. We're gonna have our cake and eat it too. I'll give it to Skate.
Yay! Skate the Infinity. I was hoping you would do that.
It was, because in the end, it's all about having fun.
And doing things with others is sometimes more fun than doing it alone, which Skate taught us. So that's an important lesson. And yeah, so it deserves a spot on our best of the season list, I guess. Mm-hmm. And for many other reasons, because it's just a damn good show. It's so fucking entertaining. It's not super deep or anything. Neither is necessarily Jujutsu Kaisen, although it tries to go into certain aspects. If you want some real meat to your story, give it to BEASTARS. But again, BEASTARS, but BEASTARS already is on that list, so I feel confident giving it to these two shows this time around. That doesn't mean that you should not watch BEASTARS. Definitely watch that show when it comes up, because it's definitely also a best of the season contender, just like Attack on Titan is. And you should watch all these 4 shows. Watch all of them. Fucking watch all of them.
Just
watch
do
all
it.
of the
Just
good
shut
anime.
Up and do it.
Yeah, do it. Fucking do it. Just do it. Anyway. Watch fucking Attack on Titan final season. Or final season part 1. Definitely watch BEASTARS, definitely watch Skate, and definitely watch Jujutsu Kaisen. Whatever tickles your fancy more, but definitely watch one of them if you wanna watch good anime. Mm-hmm. And with that, we've come to an end to this anime season. We hope you had a good time listening to us reviewing all that stuff. We have even more shows for you next season. How many we will review actually of those, we don't know yet. We still have to figure that out, and how much will land in the Quick and Death and whatever. So we'll see what happens. Looking forward to talking about it with you, John. Mm-hmm. And we'll see you guys, you listeners, or we talk to you listeners soon enough. The new premieres for summer season are just around the corner. And once all of those have aired, or at least all of those that we are interested in, we will return and do a sneak peek and give you our first review from spring season. So look forward to that. Until then, stay cool and fresh because it's summer, so it's important. Stay hydrated, whatever. See you guys next time.
Take care.
And that is a wrap on the 114th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Leave us comments and questions on YouTube, follow us on Twitter @AnyBrainFreeze, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in, we hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut!
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
The life of a taxi driver isn't crazy.
But the world around it is pretty odd.